So this is a story that has to do with two books, one of which I actually have and the other of which I don't have and wish that I did and fear that it might have been discarded and destroyed. This goes back a number of years to my 20s when I was very interested in German as a language and in German philosophy, an interest that has continued through over the decades. And so I'm going to tell you a story about the book that got away, we could call it, and it's a bit of a moral dilemma. So I'd be interested to see what people think I ought to have done. I actually think that I made the wrong decision, and I've thought that for quite a long time. I've actually used this as an example in classes about ethics. So let's start at the start. Actually, not completely at the start. We'll do a little bit of backtracking. So it was either in my master's or during my PhD at Southern Illinois University Carbondale that I took a semester-long class on Hegel's Phenomenology, right? So very important work in not just German idealism, but continental philosophy in general. And we could say the history of philosophy writ large, at least Western philosophy. Hegel is a massively important and influential figure. And the phenomenology in the 20th century, and also in the 21st century, has come to be viewed as one of his most important works. It's actually his earliest big published work. And there's a lot of cool stuff in there. As many of you know, I actually recently finished the half-hour Hegel project, which took me about a decade to complete, a line-by-line commentary. And I wouldn't have done that if I didn't have a serious interest in Hegel that goes all the way back to the 1990s when I was a graduate student. Now, I was somebody who liked to work with texts in the original language. And so, I had a copy of Bailey's translation, and I got a copy of Miller's translation. I also got Hippolyte's translation out from the library, the French translation of the Phenomenology. But I wanted to get the original so I could actually follow along. And when we're looking at things in class and somebody says, well, the text says this, I could say, well, here's what it actually says in the German. And so I went to the library. We had an amazing research library at Southern Illinois University. And I go over to the section that's got all the Hegel books, including the Gesamte Werke, right, the collected works of Hegel. And what I find there is a second edition published in the 1840s of Hegel's Phänomenologie des Geistes, right? The phenomenology of spirit. And it's written in the old German script that we call Fraktur, as opposed to Lateinish, the Romanized script that we're used to seeing. And it's a weird quirk. Here's where the other book comes in. So this is when I was I can't say first learning German, because I first learned some German as an elementary student, right? We had a person from my subdivision who came in and taught us some things because she'd been an exchange student. And then I learned a little bit more on my own. And then when I was in the Army, we had to take a German language course for about 30 hours, and you learn some basic stuff like, how to find the bathroom and order a beer and get on the train and things like that. And I talked with a lot of people, so my German wasn't bad. And then when I was in college, I knew some Swiss and some Germans and Austrians, and I would chat with them. And I had a German girlfriend for a while, so we'd kind of, chat around with it. So I knew some German. But then I was like, I really need to get my German on track. And my Uncle Hubert had this book in his library. And the title is Lehrbuch der deutschen Sprache, right? So a book for learning the German language. But it's actually partly in German and partly in English. It was originally published in 1899. And it is, like it says, the book is designed as a practical course for beginners. And so what it is, it introduces you to the alphabet and pronunciation, the German script, which is the Fraktur, and then you get all of the lessons. And everything in German in this book is actually written in the old Fraktur. So that is what I learned. And this actually created some problems for me in terms of, let's call it vocabulary, right? I remember being on a train in Germany and asking somebody, I didn't realize that the word for pen in the present is Kugelschreiber, like a ballpoint pen, and I asked for ein Feder, and they were looking at me like, are you a nut, right? Because that's the old-fashioned word for pen from quill. So anyway, I could read Fraktur, and so I get this volume of Hegel's Phenomenology in my hands, which is in the Fraktur, and the book is kind of stained. It's not in great shape. It's old. But the binding is really good. And so that's really something for old books that matters a lot. And the pages were okay. You could read the stuff just fine. So I'm bringing it to class with me. And people are looking at me kind of weird, like, what the hell is that thing that you're looking at? And I was like, well, this is the Phenomenology. This is the not quite original text because it's not a first edition, but this is a second edition. So this book, in the 1990s, that book would have been 150 years old. This book right here, the one I learned German from, is over 120 years old, So this is a kind of story about these old books that were in pretty decent shape. So I used that. And when I would write my papers, I'm quoting from that, and I had it out for quite a while. I think as a graduate student, undergraduates could take a book out for 8 weeks. Graduate students, 16 weeks. If you were a professor, you could take a book out for an entire year, and some professors would just keep books out for years and years and years, including the guy who taught the Hegel class. So, sometimes there's a bit of a side note. If you wanted to get a certain book and it wasn't in the library and it had to do with German philosophy, you would go to Stephen Timon and say, Professor Timon, do you have these books? And he'd be like, yeah, I do. Here you go. Bring them back to me when you're done, because they're out in my name, right? And people also sought out his books for the marginalia, because I guess they assumed that if he took notes, there must have been something important. All right, so back to the Phenomenology. So I used this book for an entire semester, and then I start thinking, this is really quite a find. It's a second edition of a really important book in the history of philosophy. If I lost this book, lost in quotes, because I wouldn't actually lose it, I would report it as lost and missing, I would have to pay a $55 replacement fee, and then I could keep this book forever. And, buying a book like this, a second edition of Hegel's Phenomenology, it's got to be worth way more than $55, and I'm not interested in actually, selling it. I would keep it as something that I would use as a resource, because at that time I was actually, on a track to write on Hegel. I ended up writing on Maurice Blondel instead, who's also a dialectical philosopher, but I was very, very interested in Hegel. And so I thought to myself, man, I'm tempted to essentially steal this book, right? To report it missing when it's not really missing, pay the replacement fee, which won't cover a replacement of this. And, if I'm tempted to do that, and I'm not necessarily going to do it, I know other people would be tempted to do this too. So, I'm thinking to myself, maybe what I really ought to do is take this to the library special collections and say, you have something special here. So I did exactly that. I go in, I think it was on maybe the third floor, and I walk in, and there's somebody in there, and they're kind of surprised because nobody ever goes into special collections. Not ever. It's pretty rare that you get visitors, certainly students. Aren't very interested in special collections. So I go in there and I hold this book and I'm like, you got something really special here. This is Hegel's Phenomenology of Spirit, second edition. I forget, maybe published in 1842 or something like that, certainly in the 1840s. And I am tempted to keep this. I think that you should put this into special collections. I'd hate to see it taken out of circulation, but I think it would be better for the book. And the librarian looked it over, and you could see a kind of sneer on his face. He's not taking this seriously. He's like, well, it's a second edition. It's not really that valuable. I don't think that we need to put this in special collections. Here you go. And he handed it back to me. And I was like, are you sure about that? And he's like, yeah, we got enough stuff already, And I don't know what sort of politics was going on, so who knows? Who knows what was actually happening? This is over 25 years ago. So now I've got this dilemma. And I'm thinking, so the library's not going to keep it. Maybe that's green lighting me to steal the book. Steal it in a sort of official way, right? I will pay a replacement fee. And if I don't take it, I'd actually seen quite a few books in the old German script. I've got Goethe's Faust, and I've got some works by Nietzsche that had been tossed into the discard pile. And I was like, might be the case that this book actually gets thrown out, and then it's not doing anybody any good. And I'm one of the few people here who can actually read it in the old German script. So, not too many people are reading Hegel in German, period, and certainly not in Fraktur. There's a really good case for me to take this book, but I didn't. Because I thought to myself, well, what if somebody actually does need it? On the off chance that they would, I shouldn't take it. I should leave it in there. And so I eventually did return it. Now, I checked it out a few more times, but I always brought it back. That might have kept it in circulation, for all I know. I mean, it could still be there in the library, but I expect it probably got eliminated at one point or another, particularly since Southern Illinois University, as part of the Illinois system, went on pretty hard times during the financial crisis back in the 2008, 2009, and onward, when budgets were cut everywhere. And I know that the library downsized quite a bit, and that libraries across the nation are moving away from having large repositories of books and much more towards electronic resources. So I can be pretty confident that it's not there anymore. And I don't know if anybody ever checked it out again after me. So in the years following that, I thought to myself, man, I should have taken that book. And there's good reasons. First of all, I would have actually probably taken better care of it than anybody else in the library or somebody taking it out would. It would still be with me because it would have been precious to me, because it was part of my own education, and I was one of the few people who could actually read it or was interested in reading it. So there's that, right? And then going further with this, maybe I had a duty to keep it from getting destroyed. But I also thought I had a duty not to steal it and to make it, available to people in this research library. That prevented me from doing it at the start. I think that was the wrong decision on my part. So this moral dilemma, should I have taken the book? Should I have not taken the book? Given these particular circumstances, I'm still, proverbially kicking myself years and years later when I think about this volume, the second edition of Hegel's Phenomenology of Spirit in the old German script. I probably should have gone through the process of saying, oh, it's lost, don't know what happened, here's your $55, and just kept it. But, that's where I've arrived in my own reasonings about this. I'd be interested to see what other people have to say. And so, if you want to leave comments, giving your own take on this, I'm happy to read them, and we'll probably respond to them. But that's a story of not a fish that got away, but a book that got away. And I think this is a particularly interesting story. It's been sticking with me for half my life. And I will probably go to my deathbed regretting not having done the formally wrong action of having stolen and lied about this book, which might have had some good consequences had I done so.